Praise the Lord and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into the ancient text of Genesis 19. We're going to trace the rapid cause and effect narrative exactly as it's laid out. No cultural memory, no later interpretations, just the raw, unedited sequence of events. We'll see how this famous story goes from a perfectly ordinary evening to absolute, utter devastation, and then ends up with a pretty shocking aftermath in a cave. Let's get right into it.
This chapter really presents an escalating sequence of events. It's kind of like the calm before a massive storm. It all starts simply enough. Two angels arrive in the city of Sodom. It's evening time. Lot is just sitting near the city gates, the classic spot for business and socializing back then, and he sees these visitors show up. It's a quiet, almost ordinary beginning to a night that is going to literally change the world.
But look at this quote. "Run for your lives. Don't even look back. And don't stop in the valley. Run to the hills where you'll be safe." Wow. Talk about dropping us right into the high stakes. We go from a polite hello at the city gates to a frantic run for your life. This narrative wastes zero time. It's a story defined by absolute urgency, sudden destruction, and a desperate flight for survival.
If we lay it out on a timeline, you can see these dramatic events unfold at an absolute breakneck pace. We're talking a 24-hour window here. We start in the evening with the angels arriving, move right into a terrifying mob attack at night, hit a forced escape at dawn, and climax at sunrise with total destruction. It's a super compressed time frame. The text barely gives us or Lot a single second to breathe.
Section 1, Evening Arrival, and the Mob.
So, setting the scene before the chaos erupts, we see Lot acting like the quintessential ancient host. The second these visitors arrive, he insists on showing them hospitality. He bows low, brings them in to wash their dust-covered feet, and whips up a quick meal with some baked bread. The visitors actually try to decline it first, saying they'll just sleep in the city square, but Lot absolutely insists. It's a textbook example of ancient hospitality. But man, it completely masks the incredible danger that's about to show up at his front door.
And before they can even turn in for the night, the situation just violently explodes. The text tells us that every single man in Sodom, young and old, surrounds Lot's house. They're aggressively demanding the visitors be sent out so they can have sex with them. Lot steps outside, shuts the door behind him, and actually tries pleading with this mob, calling them friends. And then he makes this desperate, deeply disturbing counteroffer. He offers up his own 2 virgin daughters, telling the mob to do whatever they want with them just to spare his guests. It is a chilling, horrifying moment. It really highlights both the extreme danger of the city and just how intense those ancient codes of hospitality really were.
But the mob? They completely reject the offer. Their response is incredibly hostile. They scream, "You're a foreigner. What right do you have to order us around? We'll do worse things to you than we're going to do to them." They rush the door, trying to completely break it down. The tension here is off the charts. Lot has lost total control and his life is in immediate, undeniable danger.
Which brings us right to the next crucial phase of the text. Just as that door is about to splinter and give way to the mob, the visitors step in. They reveal their true power and aggressively take control of the narrative. The text sets up a brilliant contrast here, showing a massive, sudden shift in power. On one hand, you have the physical rescue. The angels reach out, pull Lot safely inside, and strike the entire mob outside blind. They literally can't even find the door anymore. But then comes the massive pivot. The angels deliver a chilling warning. They explicitly tell Lot that the Lord has heard terrible things about the city and sent them to completely destroy it. So, those seemingly helpless guests? Yeah, they just revealed themselves as the powerful executioners of Sodom.
Section 2, Fleeing the Destruction. As early morning hits, the tension peaks all over again, and the text shows us just how incredibly difficult this escape was. Lot tries to warn his future sons-in-law, but get this, they think he's making a joke and literally laugh in his face. Because of that delay, and because Lot himself keeps hesitating, the angels have to physically grab Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters by the hand right at dawn. They literally drag them out of the city. The urgency to survive isn't even coming from Lot. The angels are entirely forcing it on him. And here's the crazy part. Even while running for his absolute life, Lot decides to negotiate his escape route. The angels give him a very direct command: run to the hills so you'll be safe. But Lot pushes back. He's like, "No, the hills are too far. I'll die before I get there." He actually pleads to flee to a tiny nearby town called Zor instead. And surprisingly, the angels agree to the concession. They promise not to destroy that specific town until he's safely tucked inside.
Then, the climax arrives. As the sun rises and Lot finally reaches Zoar, the Lord rains burning sulfur down on Sodom and Gomorrah. The text is totally absolute about this. Everything is completely wiped out. The cities, the people, the land, even the trees and the grass. It is utter devastation. And right in the middle of it, we get that famous moment of tragic disobedience. Lot's wife looks back, completely violating the direct command the angels gave them earlier, and she is instantly turned into a block of salt.
From there, we move into the final, deeply intense portion of the narrative. This section deals heavily with the psychological aftermath of surviving such a massive trauma, and it sets up the highly controversial continuation of Lot's family line.
Section 3, the aftermath in the cave.
So Lot actually becomes terrified to stay in Zoar, the town he just begged to flee to, so he and his 2 daughters abandon it and move up into an isolated cave in the hill country. Believing they're entirely cut off from the rest of humanity after watching their home get vaporized, the older daughter proposes a drastic, really unsettling plan. She tells her sister, "Our father is old, and there are no men anywhere for us to marry. Let's get our father drunk. Then we can sleep with him and have children." It's an extreme, desperate measure born completely out of isolation and trauma.
The text meticulously lays out how they execute this plan over 2 consecutive nights. Step 1, the first night. They get Lot drunk and the older daughter sleeps with him. Step 2, the very next day, the older daughter tells the younger sister they are going to do the exact same thing again. Step 3, the second night. They get him drunk again and the younger sister sleeps with him. The text makes a very specific point to note that both times Lot was way too drunk to even know what was happening.
So, what does this all mean? Why is this uncomfortable event even recorded? Well, the text ultimately lands here to establish a genealogy. It directly links this isolated cave encounter to the origins of 2 distinct neighboring nations. The older daughter gives birth to Moab, who becomes the ancestor of the Moabites. The younger daughter has Benammi, the ancestor of the Ammonites. Functionally, this whole intense narrative acts as a raw origin story for Israel's historical neighbors.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. How does objectively reading the raw, unedited events of ancient texts shape our understanding of how historical lineages and neighboring nations were recorded? When you really step back, it's wild to recognize how these unfiltered, dramatic, and honestly shocking narratives served as the foundational origins for early civilizations. They didn't gloss over the trauma or the human desperation when tracing their roots. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and if you found this breakdown helpful, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.